Hi, this is Eric Stromquist. Welcome to Control Talk Now. Take a little break from the editing and thought I'd come down since it's football season, take a look at the new Falcon Stadium. What you can see is behind my right shoulder, and over to the left is the old dome where they play. So we got a great show this week. I'm wearing the Detroit Tigers hat in deference to Scott Cochrane, one of our guests this week. Scotty's a distributor out of Michigan, and I tell you what, he is one of the brightest guys in our industry. Hear what Scott has to say about a multitude of things, including his take on big data, which might surprise you a little bit. Also, we have Eugene Mazo, our friend from DG Logik. As most of you know, DG was purchased by QD Brands, and Eugene sort of gives us the 411 on what's going to happen, how things are going to be different, if at all. So great interview with Eugene. So with that, relax, sit back, and enjoy the show. Hi, this is Eric Stromquist. Welcome to Control Talk Now, the Smart Buildings videocast and podcast for the week ending August 14th, 2016. I am joined, as usual, by my co-host, the co-host with the most, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, Kenny Smyers from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kenny, welcome to the show. Big dog.
Well, thank you very much, Eric. It's been a great week again. I'll tell you what, we're in an industry that is not static. It moves every week, ebb and flow. We see great technologies come, and we see things changing. We've got a great show because we've got two great interviews. Number one with Scott Cochrane from Cochrane Supply, and with Eugene Mazo in his new capacity, and a very exciting news release that we're very fortunate at Controltrends to have the cutting edge release on this, and we're excited for them. Those guys worked very hard, and I think they've achieved success, and it's just starting. Some of the things that Eugene says are very exciting. No,
very, very exciting. And a lot of people have been asking about that merger with DG Logik. I mean, what's going to happen to the product? What's going to happen to them? Are we still going to have access to it? And we get the answers to all those questions and more. And the only question you have to ask if you're a video watcher, will Eugene be sitting on his yacht when he answers our interview questions, or will he be in his office? You'll just have to wait and see. And our podcast listeners, we'll let you in on the podcast version. But hey, Kenny, let's hit a couple of sponsors this week. We got some great companies that are sponsoring the 2016 Controltrends Awards, and we want to show them a little bit of love. We try to do 2 a week, but we hadn't talked about Siemens, Josh Feldburn and the team. So Siemens is one of our platinum sponsors, so we very much appreciate those guys. And you pick one. Who's your choice for the week?
Well, we have the first one, the post coming up would be Belimo.
Yeah, Belimo for sure. They do some great stuff. So Belimo, orange. I mean, you hear people talk about they come into the counter, they want one of those orange actuators. Belimo is one of the probably the best brands in our industry, and they focus on valves and actuators and cool stuff like that. So a very special thanks to Gary Weber and the team at Belimo for their sponsorship. They typically do very well at the awards too, Kenny.
Well, they're they're cutting edge all the time. If you watched the last webinar with Joe Carcarry, the guys just got passion to make a dimension of our industry better. Every time you turn around, they've got a new butterfly valve series coming out in the very near future, next quarter. And so when they focus hard on improving how to move air and water through a building, and it's a global product too. So you've got a lot of really smart people thinking a lot of great ideas, a lot of innovation going on in a very kind of mundane industry. But these guys really bring it. I mean, they take the engineering to the furthest level possible.
Well, they really do. They really do, Kenny. So again, the Controltrends Awards are coming up. We're getting ready close to the nomination period, Kenny. Let's just walk our listeners real quick through sort of what's going to happen. The nomination period, when that comes out, we'll basically send ballots out to you. If you don't have one yet, just reach out in comments with your email address, or you can go to controltrends@gmail.com and give us your email address. But a nomination ballot will go out. The categories will be listed, and there'll be some people that already have been in the event before, or that Kenny and I know, or that are on Controltrends, and they'll automatically be on the ballot. But there'll be spaces for you to add or write in votes, and that's where we find out about new technologies and new companies and new people. And a lot of times those write-in votes, we get enough write-in votes, they become a part of the official nomination ballot. And when the nomination period ends, Kenny, we go through, we count the votes. The top 7 or 8 in each category go on to the finals. And what does that mean? Well, it basically means that we have a time period where we reach out and endeavor to talk to all the finalists or get product reviews of all the finalists' products. And so that when it comes time to do the final vote, you can make an informed decision, right? So, and the final voting ballot goes out. We send it out to Price Waterhouse or somebody like that. They count the votes. And then the next thing you got to know is you come to Las Vegas. You go to the Hard Rock Cafe. You show up at Sunday night in Las Vegas, Kenny, with your ticket. You walk in. It's all the food you can eat, all the booze you can drink, all the people you want to hang out with, all the beautiful models you want to hang out with, and the most exciting event in the controls industry takes place, the 2016 Control Trends Awards. You'll walk the red carpet with beautiful models. You'll see and be seen. It is truly our gala, or is it gala event?
I think it can go either way.
You don't sound too excited about it. I'm trying to generate some excitement.
I'm very excited, and you're right. It's that time again. It's hard to believe. We begin last year. We began August 15th with all the correspondence and just the generation, and it normally gets released. We start seeing things go on about the 18th of August. But the dinner is a sit down. It's a banquet dinner, so it's a served dinner, and so it won't be all you eat unless the guy next to you doesn't want to finish his plate. Then you can have some of his, I suppose. But you're just going to get one serving, and it's a banquet dinner. But
hey, I'm going to tell you what. We did Hard Rock last year in Orlando, and out of all the years we've done it, everybody complimented the food. They complimented the venue, the food. They said it was the best yet. And of course, one of their favorite things, Kenny, was that after the show was over, we had about 45 minutes to an hour open bar. You got a chance to really catch up with everybody in the industry. So
it really was, and it was just enjoyable. It was a feel good event, and like you've always been fond of saying, it's a night for everybody to put down leave your sabers and your spears at the door, come on in, and just recognize the industry for all the great people that make it up. It's the who's who, sort of. It's the people behind the curtains in many cases that nobody knows what they look like. This show puts a face to a name and the face and the name to a company. So it's a great event, and it's. Like you said, got to keep everybody involved and rolling. So the sponsors are really truly the catalyst for the whole show.
Yeah, they really are, and hopefully we got that under control. But I tell you what, talking about some of the great faces and great people at the Control Trends Awards, of course, we always have Mark Peacock from Link Spring as our master of ceremonies. Miss Kimberly Brown will be back again as Mark's co-host, the beautiful, talented Kimberly Brown. And then what a great job Roger Ebenak did from Honeywell last year as a guest presenter. I mean, he sort of lit the stage up, so hopefully we'll get Raj back as a guest presenter. But I tell you what, Kenny, let's not mess around, because one of the most recognizable faces in the industry is our first guest. He's a guy we've been trying to get on the show for a while. I mean, when they talked about the smartest guy in the room back in the Enron days, man, this guy was trying to be like our next guest, man. Truly the smartest guy in the room, one of the hardest working guys we know, one of the most insightful guys we know. He's kind of, I say he's helped create building automation controls the way we know it. So, Kenny, how about introducing our first guest?
I'd love to, Eric. Our first guest is Scott Cochrane, president of Cochrane Supply and Engineering. A couple of facts about Cochrane. Everyone knows Cochrane. They're one of the most well-recognized names in distribution. Cochrane Supply and Engineering was founded in 1967, has grown into a multi-award-winning company and a leading source of building control products, technology, and information. They represent some of the top manufacturers in the industry, including Tritium, Honeywell, Johnson Controls, and Cochrane's diverse product lines blend innovation and solutions for highly successful facility management. And when it comes to HVAC, security, and refrigeration, lighting, and more, Cochrane is the go-to place. Just a couple real quick facts again, that the ideology of the company is customer-centric, and their staff is all behind customer-centric care of their customers. They integrate building systems for the internet. They've been doing it for over 15 years, and they stay at the forefront of the building controls solution, leveraging the possibilities of the Internet of Things. Whether it's a project for a new building or a retrofit for a current one, Cochrane Supply is proud to be your source for information and building automation controls. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Hey, Scotty, welcome to the show, big dog.
Thank you, guys. Great to be here.
Hey, man, we love having you on, Scotty. So listen, let us be the first. You guys got a big anniversary coming up next year, right? How many years?
Yeah, the big 5-0, Eric. Thanks for bringing it up. Yeah, we turn 50 next year. We're really excited. We have a big year planned in terms of celebrating it next year. We're going to cap it off with we're actually having a 50th birthday party here in Detroit. And we will be letting the whole industry know about it next June, actually. So pretty exciting stuff.
Well, very, very cool. Because I tell you, the one thing you know how to do, Scott, is throw a party, man. So if you've been lucky enough to go to like the Niagara Summits, the place to be a Scott's party, I mean, that thing you guys did in New Orleans was just off the chain, man. So
yeah, thanks, Eric. Yeah, and we're actually going to be turning that. We're going to be using the 50th birthday party as an opportunity to make it our 50th, both our birthday party and a conference. So we've named it Controls Con, where it's going to be a highlight of all of our products, all our vendors, and we anticipate close to 500 to 1,000 people coming. So it'll be quite an event next June. So
well, I'll tell you what, if we bring a present, can we come?
You guys are on the invite list. You know, you're on my list. I mean,
Awesome,
I hope to bring a lot of the fellow distributors out there for this one. And just a ton of industry people. So it should be quite an event.
Well, real quick, Scott, you know, I've had the pleasure of meeting your dad, and he's was one of the greats in the industry. And you and me and Kenny all have one thing in common. Well, probably a lot of things, but one thing for sure, which is we're all SOBs, sons of bosses. And,
right.
And you know, so if you would take a minute, speak a bit about your dad and sort of how he got started and a little bit of the history, because I think your dad was an innovator in his own right. And then I want to talk about how you've innovated since you and Don, your brother, got involved.
Sure. So my dad actually started at Honeywell. He was working at Honeywell. Honeywell moved him to Michigan from Minneapolis, and he was working for the Honeywell branch. And he came up with the idea for distribution because there was a need for it. At that time, most products were just being put in by the branches, and most people didn't do controls outside of the large branch organizations. And so my dad saw that opportunity, and we started a branch here in Detroit almost 50 years ago. My dad started the company on some pretty good business practices. They include do what you say you're going to do, don't lie to your customers, and be responsible for yourself. And so we've kind of just followed that, along with staying in the niche market of building controls, which is something that we found we're successful in. And I think with those old ethics and our continuing to chase the greatest technology and staying in our segment, we've remained a successful company for most of the life of the company, and we're pretty excited about that. So. My dad is still around. He's 82 now, and he recently attended our golf outing where he sat at a hole with me, and he got to greet all 130 golfers as they came through. So
nice.
So that was neat to just have him around, and he kept telling everybody the same story over and over, which was really cute too. So yeah. So I think the important thing is as an industry, we don't learn this industry overnight. It takes experience, and having people like my dad around and learning from those people have really helped us gain traction in this industry.
Awesome, Scott. We have several questions to ask you, but I want to keep them, so I'm asking one at a time because I have a tendency to run 3 or 4 questions into one. But last time we spoke, we were right at the advent of the Niagara Summit and Niagara 4 and the new JACE 8000. So I think one of the first questions I have is, did it deliver? I think it's been very successful. From your viewpoint, how's Niagara 4 unfolding?
We've found that it's ready for deployment in most situations. We've found that the new features are definitely helping in reducing the time it takes to program jobs and reducing some of the complexity and making those jobs available to networks and things like that. Sure. There's still quite a bit of the older software going in, but we're seeing probably right now it's probably almost over 50% of the work we're seeing now is being moved over to the latest software platform. So with the release of 4.2 being imminent, coming up soon, we should see some improvements there. And hopefully, by the time 4.3 comes out, I'll say we'll see the rest of the bugs worked out.
Cool.
But no question, if you have any of your listeners or anybody that's sitting there on the fence, there's no question that you'd want to definitely start down the track of Niagara 4 if you can right now. Because really it's a matter of investment. Most people in our segment facilities don't really have the money to be updating software every couple of years. So when they put a job in, typically that software stays around a long time. And of course, Niagara 4 will be supported. It'll be updated. So by putting it in today, it'll save you money in the future. And so we're really advocating most people try and get it going today if they can. So
awesome. I have a segue to that is Niagara 4 was new. I believe it introduced a lot of the IoT. At Controltrends, we try to really truly keep the drumbeat of trends. What's happening next? Speak, if you will, about IoT and the impact you see it as a distributor and how it's changed and how it's continuing to change your business.
So our customers have been controls contractors for a long time. And they come in lots of shapes and sizes, but at the end of the day, they work on control systems in buildings. And the people who work on control systems in buildings, there's been some fundamental shifts in because of IoT that's changed the way that they operate. First of all, most people who work in controls now they don't single brand themselves. They don't come out and say, I'm just a this brand or I'm a that brand. Most of our customers now accept multiple brands, can support multiple brands, and are more interested in finding out what the customer wants, less interested in pushing a brand. Whether it be open systems, whether it be the software like Niagara that makes this possible, the reality is most integrators, most contractors today are looking for multiple brands, which is a big change. And I believe IoT has a lot to do with it. Another big change is the function that the integrators serve in the space with IoT. We've always been plumbers moving water. We've always been, mechanicals moving air. But now all of a sudden we have a new purpose, which is moving data. And so we've seen the fundamental shift of adding the IT element to the typical mechanical, controls contracting element. It's a complicated piece, but those who are successful now in the space show great competence in it, usually, we find. So that's been a big change to the industry, is really adding the internet to the things. In other words, adding IT and connecting these devices has really changed the outlook of our customers and how they work with people. And then, of course, the other thing that we've seen is the speed of deployment is increasing rapidly. With the ability to integrate existing software platforms and put them onto networks in a usable data format at the cost that it can be done now, because integration is not new. Integrating diverse systems has been going on for over 15 years now, and there are some people who are really good at it. So their ability to integrate existing systems, we're seeing a lot less rip and replace and a lot more retrofit. And we're seeing ourselves in distribution selling a lot more software and integration products and less or not less, but not seeing the increase in the actual hard components that go in the buildings. And again, we attribute that all to IoT and the ability for the contractors to integrate and start making use of that data in the buildings. So I think those are really the three things we're seeing. It changes to our market. And of course, we're working hard to help them with those changes. So
great answer. Great answer.
Thanks.
Yeah, well, let's talk a minute about, Scotty, about the integrator of today, because like you say, at the heart of it, they're doing temperature controls, they're doing building automation controls, but with the advent of data, for example, what percentage of your contractors have sort of embraced that yet? And for the ones that haven't, sort of what do they need to know about, how do they get in that game about working with the data? What are the owners looking for with the data? And sort of how do they get on board with all that?
Well, that's a great question. What we have been trying to help people understand is that there's a need in the process of working with your customers as a contractor. Oftentimes we assume what their needs are in terms of they're going to need graphics, they're going to need this, they're going to need alarms, they're going to need histories. So what we oftentimes recommend people do to start down this process is go in and sit down with your customer and have a real conversation of what they're doing with their system today. I mean, really ask them. I mean, are you really looking at this thing? Have you ever looked at it? Do you really do anything with this information, or do you just, log stuff and trend stuff? And I think what we're finding is, that becomes the basis of helping that contractor design the data needs of the customer. Okay, because that's where this all starts, is understanding the data needs. So if you're a contractor and you can get in front of your customer and you can understand their data needs, you will find that it is very easy to deliver on it, because typically their data needs are not as much as what you think they are. And oftentimes it's simpler to implement for them. And so really that's how I think it starts, is by changing the conversation, changing how they look at their customer relationship. Because at the end of the day, their job is to functionally create the link between the customer and their ability to control the environment. And that functional link, they have to, it's not the same in commercial industrial spaces. And that's why that collaboration piece is usually what's missing. And then once they know what they're looking for, then they can come to somebody like Cochrane Supply and they can say, hey, this customer wants to do this. And that's where we step in with our IT professionals to help that contractor develop or help them understand how to meet those needs with the technology at hand. And so that's kind of where we see it. So,
well, how many of your folks, and have you had experience with, because, we have, like you say, the basic data gathering, where you can look at things like trends and stuff like that. And then we have sort of the rules-based data gathering, if you can. So, for example, something like constant recommissioning or whatever, where you're like a SkySpark type thing. How many of your customers are just sort of looking for data for trending, and how many are sort of stepping up to the next level and going, hey, we really want to do predictive maintenance and we want to do consistent recommissioning and stuff like that? Is that here yet, in your opinion, or is that still just a great concept but not quite real yet?
So we don't see analytics being deployed, on a per job basis. The only place where we're seeing analytics be successful is either in like large campuses or when you have a bunch of buildings aggregated back to a central database. There are light analytics at the equipment level that makes sense. So I think that analytics has got its place. I just feel like, again, like our whole industry is overcomplicated the basic need of the guy in the building. Okay. Like, I'm Scott Cochrane and I got like 7 properties I have to maintain. Okay. Do you know what I want to know about those properties this morning? I don't want to know anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. So let's start with that fact. Okay. Most people don't want to know anything about their building if it's working right. So what should we think about as to serve that person who doesn't want to know anything? Well, we should aggregate all the points in the system up to a central one alarm point and tell the guy if he's got a problem or not. And that becomes the first point in the system, whether you have a problem to deal with or not. Because if you don't have a problem, you don't want to deal with it. That's the reality of the building owners today. And we get into analytics and all these points and graphics and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, most people, they just want to know if their building's working right or not. Because if it's not working, most people are going to call a contractor to come fix it.
Right, right.
And if most end users are not going to sit there and run their analytics and create this and do that. I mean, we work with some that have those capabilities, but in the commercial industrial space, they're few and far between.
Yeah, they want to be.
Industrials don't do anything like that. Major industrials don't have that, capability. A lot of them. So, and they have tons of automation. So it really comes back to getting back to understanding really what are we serving and who and how do we serve them. Forget about the way we're supposed, the way our industry has told us to do it. Listen to your customer and ask them, look, if I could just create 3 points for your system, what would they be? And I'm going to put them on your mobile phone and I'm going to tell you if it's broken, those 3 points. Is that good? Good. Done. Everything else you're going to call me? Great. Well, you just got rid of having to create, 80 billion graphics, store them on a server, do all this other stuff because your customer just wants you to call you if there's a problem and he just wants to know if there's a problem. I know that's the perfect world, but I'm saying there's a lot of ways to skin this cat if we start rethinking the situation. So.
Yeah, it seems like, Scott, Kenny and I talk a lot about distributors and the value that the distributors create. And I think that's changing. So I'm going to sort of ask the question, how do you see the role of a distributor changing and how is Cochrane changing? But it seems like at one level, really and truly, at the end of the day, somebody's got to listen to the customer. And I think the customer is always ultimately the end user and understand what the customer wants and then to come up with the solution and be able to sell the solution. So I think that's one role the distributors can help in. But you've always been innovative in terms of being a distributor. How do you see the role of distribution changing, and why should an owner care? Why should an integrator care about going through a distributor?
Well, the business is still person to person. So we still are in a people-to-people business. The internet, while it has taken over many of the commodity products that go within the buildings, the software, some of the hardware, and the know-how to use it properly within the space is you can't put that on the internet. And there's a group of services that we found that help enable people to use these software and hardware. And so we think the role of the distributor is to be the enabler in the market with the technology, because oftentimes it's complicated. It's not as easy as a single class. It's not as easy as a single website. Oftentimes, in order to get the building operating, because of the complexity of buildings, it takes collaboration of multiple systems, multiple people, and that, again, that's a people business. So the types of services we are offering in the future and now are built around helping people find the right way of doing things in the space. In terms of what we talked about earlier, find those functions. Well, we're going to teach you how to develop those functions within the space. And we're going to teach you how to develop it using multiple products that may not all come from the same place. And so it's our job really to teach you how to do that, to have those products available. The other thing too, a distributor is at the end of the day, we're maintaining systems that relate back to comfort and safety. And it's important to have physical products in the town that you have these buildings in. And it's our job to inventory these products so that the service folks have a place to come pick them up. Oftentimes, people like to buy on the internet a lot of these products, and that makes sense. But oftentimes, it may take 2 or 3 trips back to the online store because you get the wrong product. I think distributors with their technical staff local can physically show them the part. They can put it in their hands, compare it to the other parts. So there is an element that cannot be replaced by e-commerce, and we believe it's distribution's place to have those products local so those buildings have that ability to get back up and running as quickly as possible. So training, inventory, and then the third piece really is choice. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what our fathers started this company on, was giving people choice. And it should remain, one of the constants in distribution going forward is bringing technology choice to the market, saying, hey, market, yeah, this is cool, and so is this, and so is this. And if your application is best served by this product, then you can use it. You're not restricted to have to use the same products over and over. And distribution has really opened that up, I think, for everybody. So, yep.
Well, interestingly enough, and that's a great summation. That's why it's always fun to talk to you, Scott, because I think this is just intelligent discourse specifically about our business. And distributors have a unique role, and it's changing. I always, try to keep track of the trends. Eric and I, we try to see what's the big storm cloud coming over, the disruption cloud that's going to camp over our business, the distribution channel, and make us change, make us evolve. But you kind of answered that already. But what do you see as being the biggest threat to business as usual here in two-step distribution, the channel? What do you see as being the biggest threat to that?
Well, I think that our industry is small in terms of the volume we generate for the large companies. And because of that, they oftentimes make strategy shifts quickly or not quickly, but there's not a lot of people concentrating on our industry. And as such, these decisions by these large manufacturers are the biggest threat to distribution in terms of how they go to market and how they view distribution. We got to get product from people. And, if we're restricted in how, and, of our ability to get product and support it properly, that to me is our biggest threat, because we have customers, we have people who depend on us to bring them the technology and support it. And sometimes our vendors don't have that same methodology, and that's our threat, I feel.
Very well said. And I have a flip side to that question too, because everywhere we go, and every time we have this thing with light litter. Every time I drive down the road or across the country, I see lights on when they shouldn't be. I see potential markets out there. But in reality, as much as we're looking at all the accomplishments and the new IoT, there's still a tremendous market out there that's being underserved. There's 80% of the buildings over a certain square footage, 25,000 to 100,000, do not have any kind of building management control other than maybe thermostats, setback thermostats. So how do we dig deeper into that market now? How do we in other words, if we do this right, and we change according to all the threats, strengths, weaknesses coming at us, we should be able to go deep and wide into that market. So you see like a particular type of control or a system, or is that something we're going to keep, like you said, bring that technology to the market and help them pick the one best for their building needs? But
Kenny, you talking about the race to the small space control system for that? Is that what you're asking?
Kind of, but I just from Scott's perspective, where he sits, in different places, we see different things.
I still believe everybody's missing the boat, because nobody's really asking the guy who operates the building what he's looking for. And to me, there's that's what we're missing. We're missing the right conversations with the right people. That's what we're missing. All the technology we need is here. We have all of us have built into the industry the ability to do things that we couldn't do 5-10 years ago, lowering the cost of implementation of data aggregation and things like that. So now we can get the data out in a cost-effective manner. We can put it on a network. We can make it cyber secure. We can do all that now. So now where we need to bridge is we got to figure out now, okay, and we can do it cost effectively. So now the question you got to ask yourself is, why isn't that guy buying it with all the lights on in his building, right? And I think it's because we don't ask them. I think it's because people just tell them what they should think and what they should put in and blah, blah, blah. I don't think anybody really asks the questions. And, if you look at companies like Apple or Google or places like that, they ask some questions, they functionally change things that we were doing in our lives. And that's where we need to step up as an industry, is ask the right questions and then develop new functionality, right? Because there's so many ways of skinning the cat. Like, for instance, think about if you could connect your building with your iPhone. Like, I'm not talking about people in our industry. Think about people outside who go through this train of thought. Oh my gosh, what if I could connect to the building with my iPhone so I could change the set points in the rooms? Would that, that's pretty cool. What if I could do it for all the rooms at once? That's even cooler. And for us, we're like, well, you can do that now and blah, blah, blah. But guess what? Most of the building owners don't even get that very, very basic point, if that makes sense. So
what you're saying is
that part of it, and then saying, okay, so how do you want to control all your set points? Well, I just want one thing on my iPhone that I toggle up and down, and then it tells me if there's a problem. Okay. So now we've just added a new function. Now we've just given the guy the tool he's looking for. And guess what he's doing every day? He's looking at that thing. He's actually using our tool that we gave him. It's useful to him because we made sure it was. So once we as an industry understand that, and we start, because the technology's there, and we start using the technology to deliver better services, then I think you're going to see more and more of those buildings, with the lights out. You know what I mean? So
makes sense. Yeah. Got it.
Well, Scott, you bring up a great point. Again, like Kenny said, this is what we like talking to you, because you think a little bit differently and act a little bit differently than everybody else. And I think probably a great example of having a conversation, and I think you can share this, but one of the big auto manufacturers, and I think all of them now are using the JACEs as a data gathering point, I think primarily because of a conversation you had. Can you tell us a little bit about that story and how that came about?
Well, it's funny, I didn't sell it to anybody, right? They chose it, and they chose it because it functionally met what they were trying to do at the lowest cost possible.
How'd they find out about it?
So here's a good example of kind of functional data and how it goes down. So really how that one automotive came to fruition was simply this. One of the auto executives at a very high level asked for a piece of information that no one could get. And that piece of information was, how much energy does it cost us to produce a single car?
Nice.
And that became a very, very complicated question, because if you look at a factory, it's like a small city. Some factories could have 4 or 5 different metering systems. They have they have the factory floor, they have facilities, they have like 2 different sets of switchgear being fed by 2 utilities. I mean, we're not talking about an easy thing to figure out. And because they had so much investment in the existing systems, when they tried to figure out how much it would cost to put in a sub-metering system to tell them that number, the number was outside of the bounds of reality. And we kind of stepped in with a different way of looking at it, which said, hey, what if you could reuse most of your current infrastructure and we just go data mining? We just look for the data, pull it out, and give it to you. And that's all we work on to help you answer that very question. And that really was what opened the door. And then what the auto manufacturer started measuring was, once they had the software on their network and it was a part of their IT infrastructure, well, then they looked at it and said, hey, how much does it cost us to bring this data in and that data? And that just extended it into all sorts of different areas of the plant, to include all their mechanical systems for the buildings, and all of their electrical distribution systems, including lighting and metering, and then all their compressed air systems now. They see this as a good avenue of getting it onto their network and getting the data in a usable format. And that's why they're deploying it at such scale, because of that cost to IP. So it was really just one question by a very high-level executive and one simple answer, and that's where that ball started rolling. So.
Well, it's like we've talked with Ken Sinclair and others a lot, and you used the word simple a couple of times, and I think that is sort of paramount, kind of because there's so many choices and so much that I think at the end of the day, a user or a customer given too much information, if it's not simple, if it's too complex, it's just they sort of freeze up. So I think you really hit on something, Scott, with the simplicity. And so that seems like that's one of the cores. I'm sort of putting together the Tao of Scott, if you will, because again, if you want to do something great, you find people that do things well and you emulate them, right? So we're taking notes here. So we got one thing, which is ask questions. We got another thing here, which is sort of keep it simple. So what else about the Tao at Scott?
I can't wait to write this up, Scott, because I got 2 or 3 of your quotes, and the one I like the best so far is we're missing the right conversation with the right person.
Yeah. So the Tao of Scott is finding the right person. How does Scott find the right person?
Well, they find me nowadays. It seems like so. We believe that our purpose is to help our customers be successful. So that's why we strive to not just look at what we want to sell our customers, but how do we get them more work in the space? And so that's something we're always striving to do, is not just to figure out what we can sell them, but actually, create success in the space. And so I think, a lot of my success has just been around that by again, not concentrating on the products as much as concentrating on the application and what they're trying to accomplish with it. And so I think that's really one of our mantras here that has helped us drive it. But no question, IoT, it's going to be a fun couple of years. I think some other predictions I'm going to make, I think you're going to see the Wi-Fi residential guys make an impact in our space. And I think you're going to, in the commercial industrial space, and I think you're going to see companies like Google and Apple and big companies like that. I think their interests are going to start shifting our way a little bit more because of the value of the data that's locked up in these buildings. I've heard there's just a huge. There's so many reasons to unlock that data and make it available. that those people, I think we're going to see the inclusion of a lot more data management tools and things like that for our industry coming up. So it'll be interesting.
Very, very cool. Well, Scotty, the other thing too I accuse you of, and I'm accusing you in front of our whole audience, is you are, among other things, the great educator. It seems like, from what we're hearing, you educate your customer with simple solutions, but you guys also do great training. As a matter of fact, I think you guys invested a lot in a new training center in Detroit. So talk to us about your philosophy on training and what customers can get if they come up to Cochrane Supply.
Yeah, so we bought a building here in Detroit. It's 17,000 square feet, and it's dedicated just to our technical service group. Our technical service group consists of a team of IT professionals. They do phone support, software support, a little code support for our customers. And then the rest of the building is dedicated to training and R&D. We have 2 huge training rooms. We can fit up to 24. We run AX certification, Niagara 4, crossover, whole bunch of classes. They're all on our website. You can get to it through CochraneSupply.com, or you can go to our tech service website, which is CochraneTechServices.com, and you can learn more about it. We've also opened up a new group. We call it R&D. So now we do research and development for OEM customers of ours, and also for applications we believe the industry could use. So we're doing a lot of testing now at the cloud level we're spending a lot of time developing drivers to open APIs for cloud-based products, for instance. That's something we're doing a lot of R&D on. And as we open up these clouds, then we look at it as an opportunity to sell some product. And for instance, that's some of the type of work that we're doing now. So,
well, you Scotty, last time I was in Detroit visiting you, you had this really interesting application. I'm trying to remember the details of it. And this, I think, is another great example of how you guys find solutions for your customers. And I think it was the school board. And I guess when Detroit, I think you were telling me that if the power goes out, that these folks typically have to go to every school and reset the system. And you guys came up with sort of a unique solution for that. Now, I know you come up with a lot of unique solutions. I'm wondering if you remember that particular one.
Yeah, we've implemented it in other places too. It's basically it's a panel. It's a Jace panel with communication redundancy built in. So, and a UPS. So it's a Jace, a UPS, a cellular modem, and a managed network switch. It sits on the school's network, so that typical communication back to the web server or the web supervisors over their network. But in case of it, and then we also have an electrical meter on it. So in case of a power failure, though, it switches over and it uses the cellular network and the UPS to send signals out to the school administrators that the power's out in those buildings. In the past, that school district, because of its lack of budget, the only way that they would know that the power was out was when the first person showed up and made the phone call. And then they had a phone call system where they'd have to call like 50 or 60 people to let them know that the power's out and they have to close school. Our system gives them that notification immediately now. They can go and physically check it themselves, and they can start that process super earlier. They haven't fixed the call process, but at least now they can start it in the middle of the night instead of waiting until morning when the first person shows up. So I think, though, that project and many like it go back to speaking. Everybody wanted to go in and sell that school district a full automation system, and they want to be a brand X guy and put in brand X in all your schools. And we understand that school district didn't have any budget for that, but they still needed that information. So we isolated the automation system back to just getting the information they needed, keeping the costs within their budget, yet giving them huge functionality on the backside of it. So one other thought as you guys look at these opportunities in the market space too is can I greatly lower their cost and bring a lot more value to the application? Those are, everybody's always like, what's the payback? What's the payback? No, the question you got to ask yourself is, what's the value? I may be spending a little more, but if I'm getting that much more, what does that mean? That type of thing. So.
Well, I know, Scotty, too, for our integrators and users and customers out there that might be in other parts of the country, Scott works and Cochrane work real well with the other distributors. I know that, Stromquist, when we get an application that we need help on, I mean, Scott's always been real helpful with us. So I think there's a pass through that your local distributor can get hold of Scott and his team, so you can work with your local guy, and Scott can provide some of these great technologies that he's put together. So, Kenny, anything else before we let our good friend Scott get back to his?
No, I just again, thanks again, Scott. Just an enormously entertaining and informative session. Again, just to go over the training, you've got some good stuff happening in August. You've got the Niagara AX HVAC Controls Boot Camp, Johnson Advanced JCI FX PCG Systems Engineering, the Niagara Enterprise Security, and then in September, again, a host of training courses. Please visit CochraneTechServices.com to get the rest of the stuff, because you completed out to the calendar year. I'm passing October, November, December. So, Scott, in the closing, what is I always ask distributors that have been in the business a long time, out of curiosity, you've seen a lot of different products, a lot of different things. What has been your favorite product or solution that you've come across here recently that you just really get a kick out of and like selling?
The latest product that we like. Good question. I would go with that's a good question.
Okay, see, you have DG Logik, and you got some really neat stuff up with them.
Well,
so you're doing
I'm a little disappointed, frankly, in the last year or two in the manufacturers and some of the products I've seen. But one vendor that seems to be kind of getting on top of it for us lately in terms of a technology play would be KMC. Their conference, I probably shouldn't tell you guys this. I don't know if it's all right, but I know in their conference coming up in October, they're going to be releasing Ethernet-based controllers at all levels, which
cool.
I think is really exciting to finally have one of our core vendors have some really, good Ethernet products. I'm excited about that. So.
Well, good. I'll see you there. I'll be there too, Scott. So that'd be great.
Great. Yeah, I think that's going to be. I think we're going to see more and more controllers going to Ethernet now, and I'm excited that we're going to see KMC with some. So
cool.
Very, very cool. Well, listen, Scott. Katie, do you have a follow-up question?
No, I said that'd be a great specification.
Yeah.
a
Gotcha.
lot of stuff's looking. A lot of IT managers now are taking over facilities, and they're looking for IT stuff. They want IP-based controls. So
right.
I think that market's shifting that way. So I'm glad we got a vendor that's getting their feet wet in it. So.
Well, kind of as a final thing, Scott, we want to thank you again. I mean, if you go to the Controltrends Awards, arguably our best presenter at awards has got to be Scott Cochrane, although Roger Ebenak might take some deference with that. But, Roger is one of these guys from Honeywell. We call him the most exciting man in the controls industry. He got excitable last year, did a fantastic job. But, Scotty, we got Controltrends Awards at Hard Rock in Las Vegas again this year. And our audience wants to know if you're going to be there presenting an award, because at least the beautiful women will show up if you're presenting an award this year.
Well, I plan on being there unless something gets in my way. But as always, I definitely plan on being there. I'll bring some beautiful women to present with me as always. And I'm kidding. But
no, Kimberly Brown, baby. We're counting on her.
Well, you gotta. You may need to start talking to her about that. She needs some good notice. She likes to shop.
Well, no. I've already talked to her about it, and we're buying the gown this year, whatever she wants. I know you got it for her last year,
I'm real excited. And guys, as always, thank you guys for what you do for the industry, getting the word out. It's a service that I can't tell you guys. It'll be decades from now. People will still appreciate what you guys are doing now. So. Thank you guys again for all the hard work you do. So,
well, you're very, very welcome. That's our guest, Scott Cochrane from Cochrane Supply, one of our favorite people in the industry. Scott, thanks again, buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
I tell you what, Kenny, man, love talking to Scott Cochrane. He is one of our favorites in the industry. We're lucky to have this guy around. So, all right, Kenny, well, let's talk a little posts this week, because we didn't have much stuff up this week, but we did have some.
Well, Eric, it was a week of webinar notifications and meetings going on. Like I say, This is a busy time period in the industry. It seems like we transition from the summer and everybody gets down to, brass tacks and get things going in August. So our first announcement was actually came out August 9th. It's a good one if you're interested, because the Department of Energy is setting smart grid communication R&D priorities. This will be in Washington, D.C., August 30th and 31st. But this is an incredible extension for an invitation to get involved at the highest level, the most important, meaningful level. It's over my pay grade, but what they're doing there is they're developing a roadmap intended to address the gaps in the research and development and current options that utilities have to solve their communication needs today. So if you were a CEO or you're a CTO or you got your hands on some new technology that would make this would make a play here, this is an opportunity to go and hit ground level. So the vision is the standards to base end-to-end IP communication, make them highly available, resilient, multi-service, integrating wired and wireless mediums with modern layered security built in from the start, with a 15-year useful life cycle, built specific for the utility applications and operating environments which the public utilities exist in, and to provide a private infrastructure. So, to me, if I was in one of these major manufacturing in the lighting world, or if I was in any of the tertiary industries around the energy world, belongs that this should have a representative.
I tell you what. I hate to break it to the U.S. government, but they want to know about smart grids. They just need to talk to Jenny Stentz from Johnson Controls. Remember what you were talking about last week? She's going to create mini grids in the buildings, and the smart grids, you better keep up. So they better be coming to her, not the other way around. But no, I got you, buddy. But and talking about energy, man, I tell you what, our next post, another seminar, like you said, webinar, Ken's calendar type thing is they're doing a webinar on the Belimo energy valve, the data analytics. Data
analytics.
It says a data analysis tool.
I'm sorry, I wasn't watching the reading, but I thought you were having trouble on the word analytics.
All right, so speaking of energy, I tell you what, Kenny, people that are really dialed in on energy is our sponsor this week, Belimo. They've got another webinar on their energy data analysis tool. And I tell you what, you talk about something that just saves so much energy, Kenny, is this energy valve. And I just think it's one of the coolest products out there. But essentially what it does, I mean, as you know, most engineers, when they design a building, they design it on pressure drops and they design it on degree days. And they typically take the hottest day of the year, and that's what they size their cooling stuff on, the piping and the chiller and everything else. And their heating sized on the coldest day of the year. And that works great as long as you got the hottest or the coldest day of the year, but it's all based on pressure drops. And if one of those pressure drops goes off or your test and balance guy doesn't get it right, guess what? You are having all kinds of hot spots or cold spots. So it's a kind of a lot of work for the maintenance staff. And not only that, you sort of have to, if you size it that way, you have to size it, based on worst case scenario. And this energy valve basically allows you to control off of things like delta T and directly to the coil usage. So if it's a new facility, you should be able to really have a smaller chiller, smaller pipes. So it'd be interesting to see exactly all that you can save with this. And I'm sure that's what they're going to go through on this webinar.
They sure are. It's again, we talked about Belimo as a sponsor, and why they're so good at it is because they focus on a particular area of expertise, a particular concept, and they beat it to death, and they learn. They have incredible research and development laboratories here in the States and also in Europe, where they really understand how water and steam and everything works and what the dynamics are, so that when they come out with a product, I'm just trying to get to the MIT case study. So this is we're on Belimo's site, if you can see that in the camera there. The awards and accolades, it's been recognized by AHR Expo Innovation Awards. They won Controltrends Awards. People around the world understand it and like it. But the MIT, the Smart Shop, they made a case study out of it, and the savings were very well documented, and quite frankly, they were extraordinary. They were very compelling.
Yeah, in the millions. So if you extrapolated it out, and I think they were kicking the tires. I think they were sort of maybe a little bit in disbelief, and said, give us one and let us see. And, you know, reach out to your local Belimo distributor. Belimo's real good about loaning you a valve for proof of concept. I know here in Atlanta, GSA was looking at it, and we went down to one of the GSA facilities here and put it in. And where they were coming at it from, Kenny, they were going, hey, we've got this mandate to save, I think it's 20% in energy. We've done everything we can with the lighting and the building automation controls. How are we going to get this extra energy saving? And from that, we gave them an energy valve to evaluate, and the savings were huge, Kenny. Same degree days. I mean, it was something like, you know, before the energy valve, it was taking 190 GPM to maintain temperature. After the energy valve, it was, you know, taking like 80 or 90. It was phenomenal savings. So proven technology. Encourage you to look at that. And speaking of proven technology, Kenny, we just got to, he's on the other computer. We got to bring him in right now because people have been dying to know what's going on with Eugene Mazo and DG Logik. So what do you say we bring Eugene on?
Love to, Eric. Introduce
Eugene, and for our listeners that might not know, tell them the big news.
All right, Eric, we have some very exciting news from Eugene Mazo, the Vice President and IoT of Customer Experience at Acuity Brands. And that's a different title for Eugene because he was the CEO of DG Logik. And DG Logik, everybody knows them. They're award-winning software and data visualization product. Welcome to the show, Eugene.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Eric and Ken.
Hey, Eugene. Thanks for taking a few minutes to speak with us. First of all, we are so very, very happy for you and your team. We know what pride you take in your work, and we know how hard you guys work, and we've really appreciated our relationships over the years and look forward to continued success with you guys with your new venture. So tell us about the acquisition.
Yeah, so as many may already know, Acuity Brands has acquired 100% stake of DG Logik as of June 30th, 2016. We're very excited about it. Acuity Brands is the largest North American provider of lighting and energy management solutions. And they're also becoming a very formidable player in various IoT markets. Tremendous respect for and confidence in the Acuity executive leadership team, and what they've been able to do is over the last several years, they've been transforming from a traditional lighting manufacturer into a $3 billion plus technology organization. The strategy and vision that they've laid out for advancing the IoT is very much aligned with what we were doing at DG Logik, which is one of the main reasons that we're very excited, and our team is fully committed to working with our new family to get more solutions out the door and get more great products out the door. Acuity has made both organic and inorganic investments into state-of-the-art software solutions for the IoT domain, and they've worked significantly on building a large ecosystem of partners that will utilize lighting networks and building systems networks to deploy a broad range of IoT software solutions and help customers really digitize their businesses.
You know, we've been customers of yours for years and years, and you guys have always been innovative, great products, great service. So we want to find out, man, if you know how this is going to affect us, and I'm sure our customers are too. So let's just sort of start off maybe with the OEM customers first of all. And
so OEM strategy has been key to DG Logik go-to-market strategy. And we're going to continue to nurture and grow those relationships. Account executives will continue to work with our OEMs, and DG Lux 5, our flagship product, will continue to evolve. There will continue to be a significant investment in the development of that technology, in its stability, in its compatibility with existing and future OEM hardware and software.
That's really good stuff, Eugene. Wow. But it keeps on going on. The acquisition, how does that affect like distributors and the resellers and the systems integrators? Is there any impact there?
The distributors and systems integrators and the resellers, these channel partners have been instrumental in the success of DG Logik. And what this essentially means is that our technology is here, our technology is here to stay, and we will continue to rely heavily, more than ever, on the distributors, the resellers, and the systems integrators to represent the technology in the best way and expertly deploy solutions utilizing our technology. So we're looking to grow this channel even further.
So any changes, Eugene, with the DSA?
No, DSA was founded with the whole goal of democratizing connectivity. And it has been growing in popularity. For the folks that haven't heard about DSA yet, I would encourage to actually go on the website and check it out. It's a completely open source initiative and that provides tools and implementations for essentially connecting to pretty much anything and building value-added applications on top of free-flowing data. You can go to the website at iot-dsa.org. You can learn a little bit more about it, but the community of DSA, it's a community effort. It's completely open source. The community of DSA is at about 400 members right now and growing every day. There's a lot of traction with very large technology organizations, with some premier technology organizations that are really backing DSA right now. And we will continue to be playing a leading role in advancing the technology and in advancing the adoption of DSA, in advancing the adoption of open standards and open source technology, and this democratization of data. And we will work with the community to really bring DSA to the next level to help drive the world of IoT.
Hey, Eugene, man, you guys just provide the most awesome training and support. Is that going to change at all, or are you guys still going to be involved in that?
Well, training and support is of utmost importance to us, to DG Logik. What we're actually going to be focusing quite a lot on growing that function. We are going to continue to evolve and expand the documentation. We're going to continue to evolve and expand the video tutorials, the knowledge base, the support system. It's critical for us to educate all users on how to use the technology so that they can deploy really sophisticated solutions that are quality solutions and drive value for their customers.
That's pretty amazing stuff, Eugene, but it keeps going on. So the professional services you all work, how's that going to affect the professional service offerings from DG Logik?
The professional services team stays in place. We're actually going to be growing that organization as well to ensure that we can continue to provide quality service and solutions to help accelerate our partners and customers' development of products.
Very, very cool, Eugene. Well, listen, last but not least, what's next? What does the future hold?
Well, you know, we're extremely excited about this acquisition, and as of right now, it's pretty much business as usual. Everybody can contact their existing representatives from DG Logik, whoever the contact person was. You can continue to work with them. The full team of DG Logik is again fully committed to continuing operating, continuing working with our channel partners and our customers, and growing those relationships. We are currently in an Oakland office. We will actually be moving to a new location into Berkeley to with the newfound scale capability. We will be able to further expand our teams. We'll be able to further expand our capabilities and to really invest into help driving the technology forward much faster and get products to market much faster.
Very, very cool, buddy. And so with the acquisition, did courtside seats to the Warriors games come along with that, or?
Not that I've heard of, not yet.
Well, listen, Eugene, thanks so much for taking some time to speak with us, and again, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Awesome.
Well, so Kenny, what's your take on Eugene, man?
Well, Eric, I've always really enjoyed DG Logik's product. I like their concept. I liked it when they, 3-4 years ago, when they explained what the significance of data visualization and what, the eyes do, what the visualization does to the human. We work better with bright lights and bright colors, and we understand things easier. Red, alarm; green, go. So, it began that. It was a slow moving, concept. It took on. They jumped ahead of the market and became world leaders in data visualization. But what I learned from Eugene there is that I seem to close my eyes and think I understand stuff and move on. But he opened my eyes again that anywhere there's data, there's an opportunity for visualization. Anywhere, whether it's a hospital industry, oil and gas industry, if it has data, they could create some kind of a vertical presentation where they could take that data and they could bring it out in a way that makes it more accessible, makes it more understandable, makes it more important. So they data mine and then they present the results of that data mining.
Right. Well, what I'm curious about, we talked last week with Jenny Stentz from Johnson Controls, and if you didn't get a chance to see that interview, you definitely want to check it out. But I'm looking at these controls companies now creating bundles, right, of bundled type products. And, Johnson's, doing it with companies like Tyco and stuff like that. But how interesting is Acuity with, Distech, now DG Logik? They've already, got a dominant product in the lighting space. Is that a trend we're going to see where these big companies are going to go out and buy and bundle, and then it's going to be interesting to see how they roll it out? Sounds like they're pretty much going to leave Eugene alone and let him do his deal. But at a certain point in time, you got to figure that they're going to put all that stuff together somehow to come up with an enhanced product.
Well, they gave him deep pockets now, so he doesn't have to, in other words, I think some of the innovation is limited by your resources, by the number of people. They're moving into a new facility. They're going to be hiring new people, and it's going to accelerate the processes. So they're still going to do it at the same level of quality, and they're still going to provide the same, in-depth support. But I think what you said there, and I think what's hard to really grapple with is that the $3 billion plus technology company that used to be known for lighting networks are going to leverage those lighting networks into the world of digitalization. So it means to me that you're going to start seeing these duplicities in the building where everybody's got one and networks are laying on top of networks. You're going to start to see manufacturers of one product integrate all the subsystems on the same network. So you're not going to have, your bus for the controls and your bus for the chiller and your bus for the lighting and the bus for the, security. You're going to start to see one bus, probably with IP controls, and they're going to all work on one network and be powered up by the network. So you can see a lot of interesting technology, but this is how they're going to do it. First, you got to get the pieces of the puzzle, then you put it together to get the best picture, the best outcome. Very,
very cool. So we'll be tracking that and Eugene's progress, and also we'll see if we can get some interviews with Acuity and some of the folks over there. So, Kenny, more of Ken's calendar type stuff, man.
Well, I'm glad you said that because
very quickly here. What do we got here with ACI?
I'm going to first. I'm going to update Ken's calendar at the end of it. It will be deleting all the old entries, and there's about 15 new things coming up, and this is one of them. The live ACI gas sensor webinar, August 24th. 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. For those of you in the East, don't go in early like I did. It's an hour behind us. So this Brant Casbohm, ACI's webinar presenter, is a very good social media representative for ACI. He does a good job. He speaks clearly. He's very proficient. And then they do these little breakaway videos that I really like, because if they talk about something, they do a quick 2-minute video specifically on it, how something's made or how the sensor works or what the features and benefits are. So it's a great style of presentation. And believe it or not, unlike you and I, they cut it off at 30 minutes. Boom.
Yeah. And it's live stream, so you can participate, ask questions, which is really, really cool. And then, Kenny, my next question for you, baby, is what is Easy Stack?
Well, it's another one of these processes where the more I read, the more I learn. So that's why I think Controltrends continues to play such an important role in this being a portal, so to speak, for technology, because what used to be kind of a distant, you knew it was there, and Project Haystack was like a slow-moving train out in the distance. You heard the horn go every 2 years with the Haystack Connect, but we found out that Haystack was being used by the national, the NREL, the laboratories, and it was, that they had already taken the tagging to the next level, and they were already deriving value from it at the National Research on Energy to save energy, and it was for the Navy. Well, EasyIO, primarily through EasyIO Europe, Johan Schakelrod and his group are really developing the EasyStack framework as an agnostic tool that allows connection to BACnet, Modbus, SQL, and other communication protocols to give integrators the ability to build an entire solution using a unified tool set optimized for efficient workflows. So EasyStack is leveraging the same tagging and data modeling based on Project Haystack in their open source initiative. So we've got a link to go to Haystack, and we've got a link to go to EasyStack. And if you take a look at it, we're seeing the European jumping out first. The Europeans are embracing EasyStack, and it comes out of J2 Innovations. It's in the Project Haystack community, so it's open source and it's ready to roll, and it will integrate your entire architect system. It's less cost up front, less time required to set up each job, better user experience, and much more. So please take a look at it. It's pretty potent stuff, and it's ready for sale.
Yep, I got you, buddy. And hey, speaking of that, man, education is always a great thing. Another company that does fantastic education is Mark Peacock and the team at LinkSpring. They got another Ken's Calendar event, 30 minutes with LinkSpring. Look at variable frequency drives. So check that out. And with that, Kenny Smyers, I think we have another week of Control Trends pretty much done. Anything else you want to add before we hit the outro?
No, I think it was a great week, and I think that those two interviews are landmark interviews where we heard one of the top minds in distribution tell it like it is from his position, and it's a pretty lofty position in the industry. And then we had Eugene Mazo and DG Logik. The guys that they worked hard. I think they got rewarded, and I think their future is bright, and they've just begun their next phase. Right.
I want courtside tickets to the what's the team that Seth Curry plays for? The Warriors game, Eugene. Special thanks to our guests this week, Scotty Cochrane from Cochrane Supply and Eugene Mazo from DG Logik. Our sponsors this week, Belimo and Siemens. And with that, Kenny Smyers, you're looking a little pale. I think you need to get out and get some sun today, maybe hit some golf balls. To all our listeners out there, we appreciate you tuning in. So with that, be bold and stay in control.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers. And that's a wrap.
Cool.